Hey, welcome back to the Jesus Magnet podcast. I'm your host, Joel, and together with my wonderful wife, Laura, we are joined with Joy Guschlach.
Yes,
am I saying that right?
Possibly. Hello.
Where's that originated?
Germany.
Germany. Okay,
German.
so you're a German, German gal.
I think so.
So, Joy, thank you for joining us on the Jesus Magnet podcast.
No problem.
We actually have to give Joy a huge credit because our equipment failed us last time we did our podcast with Joy and wiped the memory of the episode before we were able to save it. So Joy is joining us for take two.
Take two. Yep.
So, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
So much grace here. So Joy, you're at Youth with a Mission in Nelson.
I am. That is correct.
Yep. And you're on staff, so you disciple young lads and ladies into walking closer with Christ and doing all that.
Exactly, yeah.
How long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing that for, let's say, a year and a half now.
Year and a half? Okay.
Yeah, maybe a bit more. But
Wow.
I joined YWAM almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very neat. And just thank you for joining us. You know, your testimony was really neat. I remember last time listening to it. So I'm excited to hear it again. And
So I suppose we'll start off. Have you always been a Christian?
I have. I grew up in a Christian home.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've kind of never really gone astray in that sense, like, thing. Yep.
Did you find that your faith was kind of piggybacked on your parents, or did you always have your own faith?
I would say, I would say I definitely have always had my own faith, but I guess there always comes a point in life where you have to decide whether it's your own faith or you're just doing it because of what your parents believe. And I feel like that comes up in everyone's walk with the Lord, if they've grown up Christian. And so I definitely have had that point in my life.
Yeah.
Too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Tell me about your lifestyle. What was it like growing up?
So I grew up in Nelson, which is where I still am. I grew up with my 3 siblings and my parents. And I guess I've pretty much had a pretty normal normal childhood. Good childhood. And teenage years and yeah, my mum's Christian and my dad's not yet, but he is a legend. I love him to bits, and yeah, I'm just believing that he will find God.
Cool.
I might just get you to bring that mic a little bit closer to your mouth, Joy. Thank you.
No problem.
There we go. Joy, where does your testimony begin?
Good question.
I mean,
I guess
do you start as I was born at a young age?
I was born.
At a young age?
Yep. I was born. I guess my testimony does begin when I was a kid, because I was, as I said before, I grew up Christian. My grandfather was and still is actually a pastor, so that really influenced my Christian faith and my walk with God as a child and even as a teenager. He really showed me the way of God, and same with my mum too. And so I guess I just never questioned whether God was real growing up or not.
So when you say your granddad sort of showed you that God was real in his life, he was able to disciple you in that sense, what did that look like? Was it just you seeing him reading his Bible a lot or preaching a lot, or what was that?
I guess all of that. Like, he just loves God so much. He's very dedicated to God. And I guess I would see him doing his quiet times with the Lord, praying a lot, leading groups. But I think the thing that he most in the most helpful way, I was trying to put the words to that, showed me about God is he just taught me about the Holy Spirit and about the peace of God and what that looks like. And he would come and tell me to sit down and do this thing where you just close your eyes and you imagine Jesus in front of you and ask Jesus what you're imagining, what he would show, tell, or give you. So he would teach me that growing up, and I found that so helpful. Like, I didn't even realize. I just thought it was just so normal. Like, I guess that everyone kind of did that, and I don't know. I just always thought God's God, and that's that. I guess I did. I was like looking back at it, and I did realize that not everyone believed in God, because I guess my dad and just other family members. Sorry.
Got the old COVID cough here.
Good times. I just felt myself inhale a bit of fluff. Oh. And then the cough just adds to it. So I guess I did have that realization that not everyone believed in God, but I don't know. I just always thought, God's God, and that's that. There's not really a question about it, and so that's how I kind of grew up, and that led into my teenage years as well. Of course, I saw more people not believing in God so much, but I still was like, God's God, and that's that. And so I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you got any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have one brother and two sisters.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And they're in Nelson.
They are.
So, and they've developed a faith of their own?
Yeah, I would say some of them are just gone on a bit of a journey, of course, as we all do. But yeah, I would say my sisters more in particular definitely believe in God, and it's really cool to see just how God's leading and guiding them through their lives. And yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's jump into I suppose the catalyst moment of your testimony, where you have was it the deteriorating muscles or something like that?
Yeah.
I might not be describing it right.
Yeah. So I guess like a big part of my testimony, even though like I didn't even fully realize it, but I guess that it is that while growing up, although I had like this faith in God and everything, I was very ill, with a whole bunch of health conditions. I was very sick with kidney disease as a young child, and I was. Should I tell the kidney story?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hear it.
So I was, from the last time I recorded the podcast, I was explaining a story that happened to me when I was a baby, which is a really cool story. Is I was born very ill with a thing called renal reflux, and it's kind of normal for kids to be born with that. It's a kidney disease, but it's not normal for it to be grade 5, which is like you need surgery and health care and stuff. For that, usually it like kind of just fixes itself and you're all good and you go on with life. But I needed help. And so when I was a baby, I was very sick. And when I was 6 weeks old, my parents when I was 6 weeks old, I was having an appointment because I was going to be having a major surgery at 6 weeks old. And I had the kidney scans beforehand, because you just do a routine scan, and then you come and have an appointment before you have your surgery. And when I was a baby, just before my parents were going into that appointment, my grandparents and the church had been praying for me and felt that I was going to be totally healed of this disease. And my grandma actually called my mum while they were waiting, and my mum was like, "No, don't you dare say this." Like, she was mad. She wasn't a Christian at the time, and she was like, "Don't you tell me that everything's going to be okay when my when my child's like super
Just that
sick.
false hope.
Yeah.
Yep.
That like, how dare you come and you're not living this, or I don't know what she was thinking, but she was saying she was really angry, and but yet, she
What's
went
that
to-
ad? Is it Robitussin?
Oh yeah.
When somebody coughs, Mummy, what do we say when people sneeze? We say bless you. What do we say when they cough? Robitussin.
I don't even know what I was up to. Oh, there we go. I remember. Yeah, so she went to the appointment with my dad, and in the appointment, the doctor said, I don't know how to tell you guys this, but your daughter, her scans are fully clear, and she is healed. Her scans are clear, and he said, this is a miracle. Like, he told them, this is a miracle.
Wow.
He's only seen that happen once before in his career, from grade 5 to, like, nothing.
So, have you still got any issues with your kidneys?
Not now.
Wow. So fully healed.
Yeah. It was crazy. And so that was a really cool story that I guess throughout my faith that I was always like, oh no, God is real, because he healed my kidney. But I guess that story also wasn't fully my story, even though I was, the main character in it. Well, I was part of it. I guess that was a lot of about my mum's faith and journey with God.
Yeah.
But I thought it's a cool story that I like to share, because it's like, whoa, God did that, even though I have no memory of it.
But still,
But
like that's how much God cares. He doesn't
Yeah.
need the ego of saying, oh, it was me the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's so important to recognize that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was God that pulled you out from having that horrible disease with your kidneys, totally healing you.
Yep.
And it was a testimony not just for your mum. Was it your grandma that also wasn't really a believer at the time?
Yep.
And then also the doctor.
Yeah.
And then everybody else that's listening to this podcast.
Yeah, for everyone. Yep. Yeah. No, it was crazy, and it was just cool that my grandparents they had that faith to call my mum and tell her that, because if they didn't, like, I don't know, it was like stepping out in faith for them too, because my mum wasn't Christian at the time. She is now and is so on fire for God, but back then, it's just really cool. And
That is so neat.
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your childhood. You grew up after that, and it is a relatively normal fashion in Nelson.
Yep. No, you do grow up. That is something that happens in life.
Yep.
But yeah, I grew up, and then again when I was about 7 or 8, so I had a good few years of being pretty healthy. And then when I was about 7 or 8, a different kidney disease came again, and my kidney was twisting, and it was causing me extreme pain.
Hang on, you had 2 kidney diseases.
Yep.
Man.
I don't know if they were connected somehow, but I don't know. But I just had this. It just came up again, I guess, when I was 7 or 8.
Yep.
It caused extreme pain to me, and I just couldn't do much, and it would get worse and worse and worse. And it was like little things like I couldn't really go to school much during that time, and also just I couldn't run. I was very underweight, and I was very sick. And like, for example, I remember once when I went to Girl Guides, which is like I guess like Scouts, but the girls' version of Scouts.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think I was about 10 at the time, and I remember watching the other girls in the group. They were like doing jump rope, and I thought, oh, I can do it just this once. I can do it. And I did it, but I was in so much extreme pain afterwards. I was like vomiting, not because I felt sick, but because my body couldn't handle the amount of pain. That was like,
Wow.
it was horrible. Like, it was just so painful.
So what do you do as a kid like that? you know?
Yeah. It was just, I honestly, I weirdly have good memories through this time, which I feel like is totally God just protecting me and
Yeah.
being there for me, even though I didn't realize it. Like I look back now, I'm like, he's just been so good and so faithful, because I kind of came through it with such happiness, even though it shouldn't be. But like, I could just remember, like, a really good memory is, like, did you guys ever play Wii? Like the
Like the Game Boy
TV
thing.
the game thing?
Yeah.
It was like my mum's special, like, gaming exercise thing. But when I was sick, I was allowed to play the Wii. And so, I just remember having great
I got real
times.
sick after that. A
Yeah,
lot.
just so sick. No, that was a plus. And I guess also in my 10-year-old head, I didn't have to go to school. So, that's always a plus. But yeah, it was definitely hard and tough. But again, I just never questioned that God wasn't real, because God was real. And, that's it. And when I was 11, I had surgery for my kidneys finally. After years of, they just couldn't figure out what was happening, and they didn't have the right equipment in Nelson to be able to truly see what my kidney diagnosis was. And so it took ages, actually. And I was 10, and I was very underweight, and like couldn't really walk very far at all. And I also think of this as God healing me just in a different way. So I had my surgery when I was 11, and I've had no kidney problems since that surgery.
Yeah, praise the Lord.
To this day. It's just so cool, because I think that's not normal. Like, they usually check up on you and you have scans and things, just to make sure it doesn't come back and everything. And I've stopped having to have those scans now, because I just I look back and I'm like, whoa, God, you really healed me. Like, you set me free from that again.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. And
So you've had two massive kidney testimonies,
Yes.
and you're only 11 years old.
Yes.
All right. What's happening after that? Because if I recall, you got into roller skating.
Oh, yeah. Got into roller skating.
I love that.
So I left my old life of kidney disease behind, and I got into roller skating. And I mean, I know this sounds like kind of like maybe a bit boring, or I don't know, cheesy or whatever, but like, that's just what you do as a kid in New Zealand. Like, you just you grow up, you do sports. Like, I just had an average life. Yeah, I had like the health problems and everything, but my story's not really out of extreme ordinary or anything. But yeah, I got into sport, the roller skating. I loved it so much. I was homeschooled, and so it was like a lot to me. Like, it was my life, really, the roller skating. And yeah, but at about 13 years old, my knees started turning inwards, kind of like quite knock-kneed. But we went to a physio and to the doctor, and they're like, oh, it's just you growing, like, because it's kind of normal. They said, it's kind of normal, you're just growing. They did cause me a lot of pain. So I did stop roller skating for just a little bit. But yeah, that happened. And then one day when I was 15, I guess it would be also good to say is that in between that time of being like 13 and 15 or whatever, I was always quite sick as well. Like, I was healed from kidney disease, but I don't know, like, I really look back at it and I'm like, I feel like the devil's just trying to knock me down with illness all the time. It was just something I had to go through to be where I am now, but I was always just genuinely sick, like just tonsillitis, like colds, and just always out of it. And that's like also why I didn't go to school, because I just couldn't manage it.
Yeah.
But I could do a bit of roller skating, which was great. But yeah, when I was 15 years old, my life changed a lot because I was one day on the rink and my wheel locked in my bearing, and I smashed my kneecap actually on the rink. And
Ow.
it was
On the concrete ice skating rink, right?
yeah, concrete. It's like ice skating, but it's roller skating, but it's concrete, not ice.
Yeah.
So it was.
We actually saw that, didn't we, when we were walking around Nelson? Didn't we see
We did see roller skating something. Yeah.
roller skating
Yeah.
rink?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. I was like, that must be where Joy went roller skating as a kid. Do you still get a chance to do it now?
I tried it once now.
Yeah.
But I can only skate with one leg. Yeah, no.
Oh.
Yeah. it was quite fun.
It just takes extra skill.
It's just extra, yeah, I don't know. But, I did get back on it
Yeah.
on the rink, so that's good times. But yeah, so smashed the old knee and had surgery for that. And, you do injuries in life, it's quite normal. But what wasn't normal was I just never recovered from that surgery. And till today, I still can't run. And I've lost all my muscle, thigh? No, quads. Quad.
Yeah.
Quad muscle
Okay.
on this leg. It's
Yeah.
like, it's not there.
Oh, I see.
So it really did change my life that day, in numerous ways, but it also, really, I guess, brought me closer to God in other ways. And
So you've lost all that muscle due to your knee injury and surgery?
no, so that's why I was constantly having appointments, doctor's appointments from that point on, because I never recovered properly from it.
Yeah.
And it's not normal.
Okay.
And ever since that day, I haven't been able to walk without pain or anything. It's been a lot better, but they discovered after a few years, from about 15 to 18, of trying to figure out what was wrong with me because I was having a few other issues. They diagnosed me with a muscular condition called muscular dystrophy.
Okay. What does that mean in layman's terms?
I actually don't fully understand it, but it means it's like a deterioration of your muscls. How you go out and do exercise or whatever. Just say you went for a run and you went for a long run. For me, that would be quite bad because instead of building up the muscle dies. Yeah, I'm not fully sure about it, but the interesting thing is that they could never fully diagnose me with an exact type of muscular dystrophy because there's lots of different types. They could never properly put a label on what type. So on my doctor's records as of now and today, it says muscular dystrophy, Joy has muscular dystrophy. But I really believe that in God's record of me, I don't. And and I believe that no one's ever been able to label me for a reason, and I feel because God has healed me a lot, and I just believe that He doesn't want that label on me, which is really cool. And so, I don't even really tell people much about it because I just say, I have a bad leg, I have bad muscles or whatever. But just because I'm just I don't even really need to speak that over my life because it's not who I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
But don't get me wrong, if anyone's listening and has a health condition, I understand what that's like too. And it's a balance of being real about it, but also not taking that on as your identity.
We had this awesome girl on, shout out Chloe if you're listening, and she had a breakthrough of depression. And throughout her testimony, she talks about identifying with depression.
Yeah.
And she was taught, and I think there's a lot of wisdom in this, and it could be with any health condition, is she was told to never say, I have depression,
Yeah.
but to say, I struggle with or suffer
Yeah.
depression. And that way it's not connected to you as a person.
Yeah.
It's like I have a broken arm, but you're not always going to have a broken arm.
Yeah.
It can be healed.
Yeah.
And the moment she started telling herself that it was not part of who she was as a person, that's when God moved. And that's when God said, I'm taking this from you because it's not you.
Yeah.
A lot of the time people think that it's part of their identity.
Yeah.
If they didn't have this, they wouldn't be a full person. It's like taking part of them away. But God's saying it's not part of you at all.
Yeah.
Let me take it. But we're holding on to it subconsciously, not realizing that there's power in that.
That is so true. That really is. And I think that's what happened to me when I was 18. So this is before my DTS and before I feel like my real journey with God began. It began before that too, but it was kind of just, I guess I just kept going on. I mean, I just kept, how to word it? I just did what I did as a Christian that I've always known to do until DTS, and that changed everything. But yeah, I guess when I was 18 and I got this diagnosis, I guess I kind of was like, oh no, I have muscular dystrophy and all these things I can't do now, and I need to get checked. And I was getting weaker and weaker, and because that was my diagnosis, it was you're gonna get weaker and weaker, and you're gonna be in a wheelchair, and you're gonna need all this help and everything, and so I guess I kind of took it on as part of my identity in some ways, not even realizing it, but just being oh, now I'm weak. And I just remember feeling a lot more weak and unable to walk like I can now. I used to limp so badly, but now it's a whole lot better. That some people don't even notice, and
it's really cool. It can be, I love that. Never taken away from actually recognizing that you've got an injury or you've got an illness or whatever it is, but not using that as part of your identity can be a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you say that you can never do these things because of whatever has happened to me, you will never do those things. There's a great quote that we've heard, and it's, whether you believe you can or can't, you're correct.
Yeah,
so true.
Yeah, and my dad had a similar mindset when he had this massive car accident in 2001. And he had in his head that he would be back to work in 6 weeks.
Oh, right.
And he had lost his eye,
Oh,
brain
wow.
damage, arm de-sleeved, broken both of his legs, his back,
That's a lot.
he's not getting better in 6 weeks.
Probably not.
But the funny thing is because he was an architectural designer, and he was halfway through certain people's projects, and they would call him up, totally aware of him having this massive car accident, sort of ready to pass it on to a different architectural designer. And he goes, it was one of his best mates, Andy, who was he was doing a drawing job for him at the time. And he says, Andy, I might be a little bit late with your design, but I'll be back at work in 6 weeks. And Andy thought he was joking.
Oh.
And my dad was totally serious. And my dad didn't recognize that that his friend thought he was being sarcastic. He didn't recognize that. So
I see.
all the work did go to a different guy, and Dad was pretty gutted. But he had this constant motive in his mind, I will be back at work.
Yeah.
Now, my dad should have never returned back to work. That
Right.
was the extent of his accident.
Right.
He should still really not be working. And he not only returned because of a miracle of God,
Yeah.
giving him the mindset of that gift of I'm going to be okay. And in faith, believing that, he not only returned back to work, but had a successful architectural practice.
Oh, wow.
So that never taking on the identity.
Yeah.
He could have gone, all right, I've lost, half of my body in this car accident. I'm never going to be the full man again. I'm never going to, and take on that identity. But he did exactly what you've been doing in your testimony.
Yeah.
You've been given this, it's just the hand that you were given,
Yeah.
But you're going, this isn't going to define me. I'm going to make the most of it. And you said earlier, I did what I did as the Christian with everything I thought I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of confusing, a bit of a tongue twister.
Bit of a tongue twister for sure.
But in other words, you just went, all right, Lord, this is who I am. This is what I've got to carry.
Yeah.
I'm going to carry it well.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let me slow me down, but it's gonna come with me. I still recognize I've got it, but it's not gonna be the thing that stops me getting up in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Definitely. Sort of took over for a little bit.
No, that is so good. That actually is so good because it could be so easy to do that, and I also don't want to take away the struggles of it as well. Like I definitely did struggle. And I don't, because I definitely have come across a few people who are like, okay, every day, just declare over your leg, healing, healing, healing. And I'm not saying that that's not right either. Like, I totally don't want to say what's right and what's not. But for me, that was something that I really struggled with was healing. Because, again, like at this time, I was 18, God was real, there's no question. I just keep walking the walk. But the thing that I really struggled with was the thought of healing, because at the time, from even when before I had the broken leg and everything, I'd get prayed for a lot, even and when I had the kidney disease when I was a kid too, then I get prayed for a lot when I was older. Like, people would ask me to come up the front for prayer or pull me aside from church for prayer. And I totally get that. And I never want to discourage people from that. But for me, where I was at that moment, because I was a teenager and I was like, oh, this is so embarrassing. And I really thought I was a bad Christian because I didn't want prayer. And I was like, I didn't want to, I guess didn't want to be healed in some way. Like I wanted to be healed, definitely wanted to be healed, but I just didn't like all the attention. I just didn't, I found it really stressful, and I would avoid going to a healing church service or anything like that. Because I had people say, oh, Joy, come over to this church, they're doing a healing service. And now I would go. But back then, I would be like, nah. I don't want to be asked to come to the front of church for everyone to pray for me.
That's interesting. So it had nothing to do with knowing that God could heal you.
Yeah.
It was not about God, not about not having the faith. It's about not wanting the center of attention.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. It was like the embarrassment of it, and I don't know, I always thought to myself, if God's going to hear me, and I still think this to this day, because I'm still not 100%, and I'm like, if God's going to heal me, he's going to do it, and I can't stop it, and I can't make it happen. God's got it, and whether I'm healed on earth or whether I'm healed in heaven, I'm going to be healed one day. So I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I know it is a real journey, and there's sometimes when I'm like, God, why haven't you healed me? Like, why is this? And I don't understand. And I didn't, again, when I was a teenager, I guess I didn't think that so much. I just thought that this was it. Like, this is the journey God wanted me on. And then when I guess I came to YWAM, I realized, yeah, this is the journey God's taken me on, God's wanted me on, but that's not my identity. I'm not the girl with muscular dystrophy. I'm Jesus' daughter. And I've got a good life ahead of me. And yeah, actually when I was 18 and finished school, I studied early childhood for a bit, but I just couldn't keep up with it. It just was way too much physically. And yeah, so I was just before COVID happened in New Zealand when we had a lockdown. I was like pretty lost on what to do. Like I felt a bit directionless and I couldn't do much. Like I was quite sick and yeah, I guess that identity was more and more because it was like I have muscular dystrophy. I can't do this. I can't work. I couldn't get a job. I applied for numerous heaps and heaps and heaps numbers of jobs and no one would really want me because I can't work.
That's probably because there's no roller skate waitresses.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Nelson.
you know, I was thinking that at the time too. That would have been my dream job. The one-legged roller skater.
It's got to be the best job for you. Actually, that should be
Totally.
the Nelson YWAM Cafe. Should be a
Yes.
roller skate cafe.
Oh, 100%. I think we should make that happen. Yep.
Yeah, let's do it.
The tiny, like, how many meter room?
And on the big hill.
Oh, on a hill. Oh, even better,
It's
you
on
know?
a massive hill, the space.
Yeah.
Probably not good if you're learning on the day.
not.
You learn quick.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely... Yeah, so I was in a bit of a pickle at the time, and I was just a little bit, sad with life. I wouldn't say I was depressed at all, but I was just a bit like a bit unhappy.
Yeah.
And just... Yeah, and even in church with my faith, like at this time, I was like just doing what you do as a Christian. And I guess I got to this time and I kind of was like, God, is that it? Is like, is this all you are? Like, I love church and I love my church and I'm still with them today. But I guess I got to a place where after years and years of being there, I already knew the sermons and like already knew the teachings in church. And yeah, there was like some things here and there that I didn't know, but like I mostly kind of like knew everything, even though I didn't know what they were going to say or anything, but I just kind of was in that place in life, and I was a bit like, God, like there must be more. Like there must be more. I remember there was one church service and the pastor was sharing probably a really good message, but I wasn't listening. And I was just like, God, like there's got to be more out there. And I had no idea how big God was. Because I think when you grow up Christian, you just you grow up Christian and you go to church because your family makes you go and you go along. And yeah, there's a time where you can choose. My mum said there's an age, it was like 15 or something, where you can choose whether to go to church or not. So she never forced it, but she really encouraged us to go. And I went and I never didn't walk in relationship with God, but I guess that I just didn't really truly fully know who God was. Like I didn't know how big and how alive and how real and how amazing he was.
You think you had like normalized the concept of God in your mind. You knew that it was real, but you just you normalized him. But, yeah.
I guess that would be a good way of saying it. And I loved him. I truly loved him, and I still love him to this day, and I loved him back then. But I think, like when you grow up Christian as well, it can be kind of hard because you don't have that before and after. Like, and I'm not saying this is like harder than other people's journeys at all. Like, we're all on a different journey for a reason, and God's placed us here for a reason. And but I guess it can be kind of like confusing in the faith when you kind of don't have that comparison. Like you just always been. And another thing that I found so confusing was denominations, because I kind of grew up on the same church, and then when I started discovering all these denominations, I was like, wait, like hang on a minute, like who is God? Like what is God? And so I guess that was all building up. Like I just started having more and more questions, and I guess just like realizing God was a bit bigger than I first thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved him so much, and I never found him boring.
Yeah.
But I did find church boring.
I think you're speaking to a lot of people there.
And I love my church, so if anyone from my church is listening, love you. That's just where I was at. But yeah.
So what made you take the leap of faith and do YWAM?
Yeah, so I actually, at the time, my cousin had signed up to do YWAM in Townsville, Australia or something. And I just, growing up, like she's my best friend, and she's always been like, once I'm old enough, I'm going to go out and do missions overseas. And I always thought to myself, nah, that's not quite for me. It never really pulled me or grabbed me. So that's how I heard about YWAM. But then one day I was at this church service, and it was in this time where I was like, God, there must be more. I was at this different church service at another church, and this guy came and he prophesied over me, and he said, this season you're coming into is going to be a time of discipling you. And I feel like you're going to do a course, something like YWAM, he said, and all your course fees are going to be paid for. And so that got me a little bit more interested. I was like, oh, okay. That sounds good. And then I bumped into a friend on the street one day, and she was telling me all about King's Kids, which is a kids program that we do here with YWAM. And she was saying, oh, you should totally go and help out. You'd be great. And I was just thinking to myself at the time, because I just finished like doing early childhood and not being able to do it. And I was a bit like, I love kids, but I was a bit like exhausted from it. And I was like, no, there's no way. But I actually was trying to figure this out. I have no idea what really properly made me go. I can't remember. Because I think I maybe messaged the YWAM base, and they invited me over for like a cup of tea or something and introduced me. And I actually remember being kind of scared on that day. And so I was looking back now, I'm like, why did I sign up to something I was scared of? But you know, that it's God. Like,
Yeah.
It's just totally God. And I remember saying, God, I was like, God, if you want me to go, you're gonna have to provide the funds for me, because I didn't have all of the funds. And so I put up a Give a Little, and within 3 weeks, all my lecture phase, which was $5,000, was funded, paid for. It's just 3 weeks before that school started.
Woohoo.
So yeah, that was a really cool story about.
And that's confirmation on the guy who prayed for you.
Yeah.
And said,
totally.
you know, not only you're going to do a course like YWAM, but you don't have to worry about finances. It's going to be paid for. Like that's adding that little bit extra to the faith of that guy who prayed for you.
Yeah.
Definitely hearing the Lord's voice.
Totally.
Because that's can be a tricky thing to do. I mean, raising $5,000 in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Totally. Like that's a bold thing to say over someone. Like,
Yeah.
and that's not a coincidence. That's God. That's totally God speaking. Because I did it. I went and did that discipleship course, and all my fees were paid for. Like, that's not how did that happen kind of thing. That was not a coincidence, a God incidence.
Yeah.
And and it's the best decision I ever made. It just changed my life. Like, when I came to YWAM, I just realized I just didn't know much about God. I thought I knew a lot, but there was just so much more to know. And
God's big.
God's big. Yeah. And he's so alive. And during this time as well, I just found that the word I can describe what happened was I just found life. Like, God gave me life and light. I just felt so, in my heart, just felt like light and life. And I found that my physical illness has been so much better. Like, it's changed me physically as well because of the life that God has placed inside me now. My illness is, it used to be like, I'm Joy with the illness, but not anymore. Like, that's not who I am. And I feel like God was saying it's a bit of a testimony, because like I just fully believe in the God who heals and restores, because it says in his word that he is there to heal and restore, and he's there to the brokenhearted and those who are like mourning and stuff. And I believe he is a comforter and a healer. And yet I still am not healed and physically in some ways, not fully restored. And so I don't know, it's just,
You know, listening to you just now, I just saw a picture of a blind skier.
a blind skier.
A blind skier, and I've seen them because we're from Queenstown, New Zealand, which has a ski field, and I've seen these blind skiers sometimes, very rarely, and when they're skiing, they've got this person skiing backwards in front of them.
Oh, whoa.
And then they sometimes ski forwards, but what they're doing is they're yelling out left, right, left, whatever it is. They're yelling out those directions. And I tell you, when you realize they're blind skiing, the testimony of them skiing is a lot more powerful than the skier next to them who's fully healthy doing the same thing. So and it creates a dependency. So this guy has a dependent on hearing the right voice.
Yeah.
So when I hear your testimony now, and you're saying, you know, I'm still not fully healed, but I see you as a blind skier, and you've got this voice that you're now dependent on. And when other people see that, and I'm looking at a blind skier, I would be saying, there's no way I'd be skiing down without being able to see. There's no way I could do that. That person is amazing. And that's what I see you're doing. You know, you're walking your walk of faith, and you might have this illness, a sickness, anything like that, and it's created a dependency to hear the Lord's voice.
Yeah.
And that actually is the testimony. There's another testimony in the Bible where there is another blind man, and Jesus heals him, and they say to him, who sinned in his family to cause this person to be born blind? Was it his mother? Was it his father?
Yeah.
Who caused this blindness? And Jesus responds and he says, nobody sinned.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody sins, really, but nobody sinned to cause this.
Yeah.
This man was born blind so that he could be healed,
Yeah.
so that he could see God's glory. And, ironically, he was blind to be made to see. I think that's so awesome. But, like, truly see.
Yeah.
And that's what I see with your testimony. You've got this walk of faith, and it's constantly in dependency of Christ. And that's a really healthy place to be in, really. And it's
so
very
true.
impressive to sit here and listen to your incredible story.
Oh,
Really, really cool. So we must be up to where you are. You've just started doing YWAM, have you?
yeah, I have.
Which stands for Youth with the Mission, if anybody's listening. And aren't sure with these acronyms
A lot of
sometimes.
There's
acronyms.
so many. Yeah. Yeah. And it's so true. Like, all I can say is, like, it's God who's really brought me here to this place. And he's just given me everything I need. Like, even I was lonely, and so he's given me friends. I needed a car, and I got a car. I needed new clothes, and he got me new clothes. Like, it's just all these things, and he's so real and so alive. And I think that what I've really learnt through this time is that, you know, there's faith when you've been healed of something. You know, those cool stories you hear of people like who like were blind and then could see, or like people, and it's just amazing. And I know it's totally God's heart, and that faith is incredible. And then there's also faith to be able to walk out when you can't see, like you were saying. And so I just like want to say to anyone who's like grown up Christian and is like walking that out and hasn't strayed, like I haven't, again, like my testimony, apart from, all that health stuff, like, I haven't really gone down the road of drugs or done anything too radical. I guess, like, it's that just kind of, like, holding on and, like, just wanting to believe in God and just knowing that surely if all these people around me are believing in God, there must be a God. And I think that happened. That's what my YWAM journey took me on, because I came and like I was saying, I was full of life. But something that I really struggled with on my YWAM DTS, and I know that it is a struggle for a few people out there, is that my roommates and my DTS were just it's the most incredible time, that they were just having all these crazy encounters with God. And I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, I remember my roommates, one of them saying they saw a vision as real as day. Like, they saw a vision that's real as day. And then my other roommate, she was like, I've just felt God, like, lifting my arms and I couldn't physically hold them down and all this stuff. And I was like, wait, what? Like, God can do that? Like, again, because I grown up in church, but I realized I probably really hadn't heard many testimonies of like people and what was going on in their lives and just all this good stuff God was doing. I heard so much about, like, we're just waiting for this, or we're believing for this, or I don't know, but I didn't hear like this deep love for God so much as I did when I came here, and people were just talking about God, just loving God and just excited about God, and that really stirred something in me, because like, whoa, like, Christianity is exciting, God's exciting. And so, but yeah, I really struggled because during my whole DTS experience, I didn't have that. I never had that, I guess you'd say, radical encounter, people would call it. And so that's kind of when my questioning about whether God was real or not came in, which is crazy because it's on this most faith-filled course. Like, you would think it would do the complete opposite. But for me, I hadn't really questioned about God until I came to YWAM, because all this stuff was happening, and then I hear all these different stories, and I'm like, how come I don't feel it? Like, I just could remember sometimes feeling really empty and being like, what is going on? Like, God, if you could do that, how come when I pray and pray and pray, it never happens for me? And so it made me really sad. And so this course, this DTS, Discipleship Training School course, is 5 months long. And it wasn't until the last week where I just kind of had this built up sadness inside me. And I was just like, I love this course. It's changed my life. But yet I feel so empty, because now there's like this realization that maybe, like, is God real? Like, that's when the questions started coming in. And I just remember this day, and it was like this movie scene. It was like raining and windy, and it was like one of the second to last days on the YWAM course, and we were all emotional because we're going to be leaving each other. And I just remember walking up. We have like a hill at the back of the YWAM property, and I just remember walking up that hill when it was rainy and windy, and I was crying, and it was like a movie scene. I was like, oh, God, where are you, God? I was like actually speaking that out, like this movie scene. And I walked up to the top of the hill, and then when I sat there at the top of the hill, suddenly the sun came out. And I just sat there, and I was just crying. And I just sat there in the peace, and I'm like, God, I need you to speak to me. And suddenly I just felt really peaceful, and it wasn't an audible voice of God like, yes, Joy. But I just kind of just wrote down what I was feeling in my heart that he was saying over me. And it was just peaceful and just beautiful, and it was a whisper. It was like a whisper. It was like God in the whispers. And it's like, you could so easily just overlook that. Like, there's so many things in life you could so easily overlook. But it's actually God speaking to you. It just could be like this random word just pops in your head, and you don't even realize, but that's God saying something to you, and stuff. And so that happened, and I just felt light after that. And then I walked back down the hill, and the sun went away, and it was raining again. It was just like a crazy moment. And even the weather, like, I could have easily missed that. Even that I could have easily missed. but God was speaking and talking. And after that moment, I can't say that, you know, it was all magically like, boom, easy, no more questions about God. No, it was like the opposite, and I still journey through like so many questions about God. But it's good because it means that you go to him. You like reach out to him, and like, do you have that faith when even you can't feel him? I love that, you know, that Waymaker song, and it's like, even when I can't feel it, you're working. Even when I can't see it, you're working. You never stop working. And it's like that faith to believe that even in the midst of like health issues, or even the midst of seriously, like I had a time of just seriously not even feeling happy about God, or just feeling empty about God. Now this was on the DTS course. This is when, you know, so, but it's like the faith to hold on.
Yeah.
And God told me this once, like this is another just random like sentence that popped in my head. He said, trust in the truth that is holding you still. And think about it. It's a kind of like a weird thing to think, but what is holding you still in God? Or what is that truth, that trust in that truth that is holding you still in him? And I just think of all those stories of other people and all the times God's provided for me, and just remembering to just hold on. And it's worth it. Perseverance is worth it. And
sounds like that scripture, be still and know that I am the Lord.
Yeah,
exactly. And how can you know God if you're not still? But I know that life is busy and crazy, but you know, he is this God of gentleness and stillness, and so you know, and also when you look at the Bible, it's not this book of like happy sunshines and rainbows, although there is a rainbow in the Bible, but you know, it's like, it's such a sad book. It's a story of suffering and death, but a story of restoration and hope for the end to come. But yeah, there's suffering to come, and
It's true.
you know, it's just something to be like, yeah, suffering is going to come, but God is bigger and better and exciting and good.
Yeah.
There is goodness from God.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. So, Joy, do you have any advice for maybe anyone who's listening who has a diagnosis that they're struggling with, or any health issues? How do they keep their faith strong? How do they stay in that still place?
That's really good. I would say that first off, it's okay to be super emotional and like just, I think it's totally healthy to be sad and upset and angry. But it's important not to stay in that place and to actually realize your identity and realize that you're just so worth it, and that, you know, this thing like health issues and stuff may try to wear you down in life, but don't let that heaviness hold you. Like God is truly there, and never stop seeking him and do it with him. Like, you know, ask him if you're a believer in God and you know God speaks to you, ask him like, God, why am I having to go through this? Like, he will tell you. He will tell you, and so yeah, just don't give up, I guess, is my my biggest thing, and look to the light, because there always is light. Yeah.
Oh, very, very good. Awesome. Well, thank you, Joy. You're
No
a joy to
problem.
be around. And thank you for coming on the podcast again. And
Hopefully this one
sharing.
works.
Yeah, you've got an amazing testimony. And yeah, it's one of those ones that I like how you said, you know, I haven't gone through drugs and alcohol. I haven't been possessed. I haven't, you know, had any of the, maybe died or gone to hell and gone to heaven or whatever it is. I haven't had any of that happen. But your testimony about remaining focused on Christ and just a normal life, you've had your health issues, but keeping that focus on Christ and that dependency on him. And what that really shows, like, everyone has a testimony. Yours is not, like, don't let the devil tell you that your testimony is boring or anything like that. Your testimony is captivating. Your testimony is one that, you know, shows this is who I believe in. These are the reasons why, and this is how He's set me free. You know, He's healed me here, here, here.
Yeah,
He's
so true.
He's shown me direction when I felt lost. And the Bible says, you know, Jesus is the shepherd, and the sheep know my voice. And you're striving after going, Lord, speak to me, and he shares with you. He goes, you know, this is what I want you to know. And I just think that you've got such a remarkable testimony.
Aww.
And yeah, very, very cool, Joy.
Thank
And
you.
be bold about it. It's,
Yeah.
anybody listening and you've got a testimony, be bold about your testimony. Everyone has one. If you know Christ, Jesus, you've got a testimony. It's that simple. So yeah, thank you, Joy, for joining us on the Jesus Magnet podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, continue to follow us. Leave a review on our website, thejesusmagnetpodcast.com. And yeah, we'd love to get in touch with you. If you want to share your testimony, let us know. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and send us a message. We would love to contact you and get into sharing your testimony. So we'll see you next time on the Jesus Magnet podcast.